One of the things that I hear from so many of the creators that I work with is that they're sharing reels, the reels are popping off, performing really well, but for whatever reason, they're not converting into followers. So, today we're going to be talking about why that might be happening and what you can actually do in order to start gaining more followers from the amazing reels that you're already posting. I'm Kristen Busquet, and I've been a full-time creator for over 3 years, and I've brought in over $350,000 from sponsored posts and content creation collaborations with brands so far. Social Scoop is the podcast where we teach you, the entrepreneurial creator, to turn your online influence and creativity into a profitable, self-sustaining business. This is something that I felt like I really struggled with when last March I had a video absolutely pop off, and it was a multiple part series where all 3 parts of it did super, super well, and it was dog related content. And I said, how come I have this video that's performing so well, but people are coming to my page and they're not following? And the more and more I started to dive into strategy, the more I learned that that actually made complete sense. But at the time, I was totally stumped. The first thing that we're going to talk about today is understanding the Reels algorithm. Now, one thing that you should know, and I'm going to read this from Instagram's blog. They do have multiple different algorithms. So Instagram as a whole is not one algorithm. There's an algorithm for stories, for the explore page, for your news feed, for your reels. I mean, every single part has quote unquote a different algorithm. However, from Instagram's blog, the majority of what you see is from accounts you don't follow. This is for reels. So we go through a very similar process where we first source reels we think you might like and then order them based on how interesting we think they are to you. So this means to me that reels are a really great place for you to find the followers, find new people that are not following you because as Instagram says, the majority of what you see is from accounts you don't follow. So you're seeing on your Reels tab specifically a lot of people that you've maybe never even discovered before. So, of course, this is a really great opportunity, which is one of the reasons why when I'm kind of considering, am I going to post a reel, a carousel, like what should this post be? I'm always asking myself, who should be seeing this? Is this better for new followers that don't already follow me? Or is this something that would be way better and more convertible for people who already follow me? That's always an important question that I'm asking myself. The other thing that Instagram's blog said here, and this is a little bit long, so keep up with me. The most important predictions we make are how likely you are to watch the reel all the way through. This is key, that retention rate. Say it was entertaining or funny, and then go to the audio page, a proxy for whether or not you might be inspired to make your own reel. The most important signals, roughly in order of importance, are number 1, your activity. We look at things like which reel you've liked, commented on, and engaged with recently. These signals help us understand what content might be relevant to you. Second is your history of interacting with the person who posted. Like in Explore, it's likely the video was made by someone you've never heard of. But if you have interacted with them, that gives us a sense of how interested you might be in what they shared. 3, information about the reel. These are signals about the content within the video, such as the audio track, video understanding based on pixels and whole frames, as well as popularity. And 4th, information about the person who posted. We considered popularity to help find compelling content from a wide array of people and give everyone a chance to find their audience. So let's actually dissect this a little bit further. The first thing is your activity. So they're looking at the reels that you liked, commented on, engaged with recently. So basically for reels they're going to pay attention to the type of content that your audience is engaging with. And so when we want people to see our reels, we need to make sure it's very clear what that video is about so that Instagram, as they said, can share it with more people who have shown interest in that type of content. And I realize a lot of the things we're going to talk about in this first section are about actually getting eyes on your reels. I think that's also just as important in this conversation because I do want you to fully understand how to get more eyes, even if all of them are not converting to followers. Like the more eyes you're getting, obviously, the more chance that they are going to convert to followers. So the second thing is the history of the person who posted. Obviously, there's only so much that you can really do there. But this kind of goes to show like when you do see things and like things and meet new people, interacting with their content can signal Instagram that you want to see more of it. Information about the reels, such as audio tracks. So that to me signals trending audios or some sort of audios that are popular or original audios. Video understanding based on pixels and whole frames as well as popularity. I notice this a lot when I'm scrolling through my reels tab in particular. A lot of the times, if I'm scrolling, I'll see videos that have kind of like popped off. So you'll get shown a lot of popular content in your reels like explore page, and this is one of the reasons why obviously we want to get a lot of engagement on our post because it shows it's popular and then Instagram will show it out to more people. And then information about the person who posted, so again that popularity factor, which I think is like kind of annoying because obviously this makes it does make it harder for smaller followers in my opinion, or smaller creators. So with all of this being said, this is a little bit of an understanding about what that reels algorithm actually looks like so that we can understand better how to get more eyes on our content, and hopefully from there we have more of a chance of converting those people to followers, because obviously if we have more people looking at it, there's more of a chance those people are more people that might go follow. Now, I wanted to give you this because I know a lot of what I hear from people is, the algorithm hates me. The algorithm's out to get me. And I'm not even going to lie. When I'm recording this, which is September 2nd, I think, I feel that really hard right now. Like, I feel like I don't even want to post because I'm just like, what is happening? Like, I've never been one to complain about the algorithm because I know there's just like we can't do much about that. We can only do what we can do, right? And then outside of that, it really is in the hands of the algorithm. But I've recently been asking, what is going on? It feels so much like a struggle. But if you are in the case of, oh my god, the algorithm hates me, just know like we all feel that. It's a roller coaster. Sometimes it's going to be really good, sometimes it's going to be really bad. But also now that we maybe understand the algorithm for real specifically a little bit better, maybe we can use that information to our advantage, right? So I wanted to go through that first. The second thing I want to talk about is content quality, because I think a lot of people who complain about the algorithm also don't take a really hard look at their content. And maybe the content seems really great to you. You're very close to it, right? Like you're the one who had this genius idea, but maybe there's something in the execution that didn't land well with people outside of you, right? Like we're close to it. It always seems maybe like so perfect. And then we post it. Sometimes we even post it and go back in like a couple weeks or a couple months and go, oh my God, I hate this video. Why did I make this? Why did I post this? And so this is actually one of the reasons why I love our content audit workshops in Social Suite, which is our private creator community. Every other week, we have a group meeting where we all share content in a Zoom meeting, and we basically just provide each other with constructive criticism. And honestly, sitting there in a group and watching your piece of content when everyone else is watching it, you can just pick up on the things that you're like, oh, I wish I should have done that differently, or why did I do it like that? That didn't really make sense. But when you have that feedback from other people, I think it's much easier for you to have something to work with and something to change and potentially like test out and experiment with. But I think people never really take a hard look at their content first. So I think that before blaming the algorithm, you got to really ask yourself the main question: why would someone engage with this? But also in our conversation today, why would someone who's watching this video go to my profile from here? Because realistically, like most of the time when people follow you, they're not hitting that little follow button. Like they're going to go to your profile, check things out, and then decide if they want to follow or not. So why would someone go from your video that they maybe found on like the explore page or their reels tab and actually go to your profile? Right? Because that's where they're going to make that decision to follow you or not. Some questions that you can kind of use within this. Do they like your personality? Like, are they watching that video and going, oh my gosh, this person is so funny. Like, they seem so cool. I want to hang out with them. I'm going to go to their profile and like give them a follow so I can see more. Do they maybe like the topic that you're posting about? Is your topic so specific to a person that they're like listening to it and going, oh my gosh, is she speaking exactly to me? Like, I see this very often when I am looking at like fashion videos where they're the same size as me, same like body type. I'm going, "Oh my gosh, I need to follow this person because like they look just like me." It would be so helpful for me to be able to like find clothes for them. Or I even think about this actually with my content personally. Like, I want creators to see my videos and go, "Oh my gosh, she's talking right to me." And then say, "Okay, I'm going to go to her page and follow." Do they like the maybe like the visuals or the editing style? This is actually for me like a big draw when I'm following someone new. If I'm on the Reels tab and I basically see this like really cool editing style, I think as a creator, I really appreciate it. I'm more inclined to go to their profile and go, oh my gosh, like, wow, I just like watching these videos. Like, they're so captivating. And that actually has made me follow quite a few people, especially recently. These are just some questions. So, do they like your personality? Do they like the topic you're posting about? Do they like your visuals or editing style? Is there something in there that maybe they relate to? These are all questions that you can kind of ask yourself when you're thinking about that main question of why would someone go from this video to your profile? I've had this conversation with you guys quite a few times, but I need to bring it up again because it's just that important. Is your audience specific? This kind of goes back to that question of, do they like the topic that you're posting about? If you're creating for everyone, you are really creating for no one. If you're speaking to everyone, your message is not going to be specific enough that someone is going to hear it or see it and go, "Oh my goodness, this person is speaking to me. I have to be in this ecosystem. I have to go follow this person." Cuz like, why would I not? They're literally speaking to me, right? When that message is specific, it's so much easier to convert those people into followers because there's no confusion on if this content is going to be for them. Talk like them. This is actually something that I learned when I first started podcasting. I took a course and there was this whole section about native language. And it basically had me do 10 like informational interviews with people who were in my target audience, and I had to record them and essentially like figure out how they're talking. Like, what terminology are they using? What ways are they saying things? And this was super helpful, not only for me creating a podcast where you guys are listening to me talk, but also when I'm creating like my social content or when I'm writing copy on my website. I want to say it like you guys are saying it so that when you see it, you know what I'm talking about. And again, you can relate to it and understand it a lot more. Delivered to your audience, I mean, specifically what they're looking for. The issue with that and why that can be challenging is that sometimes we don't know our audience enough to know what they're looking for. And that's truly why I think it's so important for you to nail down who your target audience is and really understand that, right? Now, when we think about the actual quality of the content and I guess the format of the content, like how that content is put together, I think there's a lot of things within this that can make our content a little more high performing that sometimes maybe we don't think about when we're actually creating the content itself. So, in a social suite meeting, I'm going to read this to you guys. At the end of August, I asked 12 creators who were in this Zoom meeting to look at their top 6 to 9 posts in the last 30 to 90 days and tell me what all of these top posts had in common, because I really wanted to know, like, what is it that everyone is seeing is working? Like, what is the thing that is making our top performing posts be our top performing posts? So here's the list that we came up with. A lot of people had short videos under 8 seconds. Um, for the hook, they were under 10 words, not a long hook, pretty straightforward hook. A lot of the posts were in a quote, what we call like kind of a natural habitat versus overly posed. So this came from one of our creators who said, "Wow, it's so weird. All of my fashion posts that are at a coffee shop perform better than my fashion posts that are in my bedroom." Cuz like when you're actually out and about where you would wear that outfit, I think it feels a little bit more natural, like you're in a natural habitat where you'd actually be wearing that outfit versus just like in your house. A lot of people had consistent series that they were working on that performed really well for them time after time. There were a lot of hooks that gave people kind of like this FOMO or maybe like a huh type of moment where you're just like, what? What? Huh? Like maybe there was some sort of visual stimulation. One of our creators goes, wow, every single one of my top 6 posts, I'm wearing yellow. Like, weird coincidence. So, bright colors or the point 0.5 lens on the camera, movement in the videos, like changing angles very often. Those were all things that people said performed really well for them.
You're supposed to be breakfast lunch.
Well, I'm not recorded. I'm glad.
Oh, I wish you were recording.
No, I am recording.
Oh,
It's literally
perfect.
recording.
Love you.
Bye. Anyway, something else that a lot of people saw was that they were showing their face at the beginning of the video or the start of the video. Next, their concept was based around high volume search terms. So, one of our creators who does fashion, she said, "Oh, all of my top posts are Amazon videos." So, she's saying Amazon, she's typing it in the video, typing it in the caption. Like, Amazon is a huge search term, and she was using that very frequently. And lastly, there was a lot of POVs, humor, or relatability. So, like, relatable humor, actually, I think specifically was what we saw for a lot of people where maybe it would be like me creating a video about something funny that all of us creators go through, or something a motherhood creator is making a funny parenting video. Those were all things that these 12 different creators in completely different niches and completely different sizes and how many times they've gone viral. Everyone was very, very different. These are things that all of them had found were what they had in common. So, just some things to think about when you're actually putting a video together. I wanted to actually go through next a little bit of an activity for you to actually be able to come up with a little list for yourself as well. I personally am someone who really loves data because I think data is such a good way for us to get like solidified uh data. I don't know what other word to use, like solidified proof, right? That something is working or something is not working. Like it is right in front of our face. Every time we do this, it works. Or, wow, so many of our top posts, this is happening. We're doing this. So I want you to actually go through and analyze your Reels performance, just like these creators did when we were in our social suite group call. So we're going to essentially walk through some of our insights together. I want you to first go to your professional dashboard, and there's going to be a section that says content you shared. And then we're going to go through a few different things here. First, this is not related to Reels, but I still think it was important to mention. If you go to your posts there and sort them by highest followers gained, what an incredible stat that we can see. Literally from our posts, what are the posts that gained us the most followers? And this is super helpful, obviously, for posts. Unfortunately, this stat is not available for Reels. You could manually click on every Reel and be able to go and see how many followers it gained, which is okay. It's great that it's there. Why they can't lay it out a little bit easier like this, I don't know. But you still have that option for Reels to go through. You'll open up a Reel, you'll go to Insights, and then you'll be able to see follows at the bottom. So whether it's for posts or for Reels, like whichever way you're going in and looking at this and trying to figure out which post got you the most followers, I would be asking myself, why was this connection made? Why did this person go hit follow? What could possibly be so valuable to this person that they decided to follow you? And I feel like, especially on Instagram, we don't just follow everyone, right? Like, I feel like we're much pickier on Instagram about who we're actually following versus something like TikTok. And so I want you to really kind of quiz yourself on this. Is it the value that it's educational? Is it relatable? Is it inspiring? Do they just like the editing style? Is it that you know, were speaking directly to them. Like, what is it that made them actually go make that connection? Um, is it entertainment? Like, or is it dog videos that they just wanna come, like, watch funny dog videos and they like your dog 'cause your dog was funny? Like, what is it that people would say to themselves when you're watching that specific video that would say, "I'm gonna go to this person's page and stay here longer. I'm going to choose to be in this person's ecosystem." Another small thing I do wanna point out here, is retention rate. Earlier on when we were talking about the algorithm, there was this mention of how long you're watching the video for. And so I think retention rate is actually a really important stat to talk about here. Your retention rate is your average watch time. So it's gonna be called different things on Instagram and TikTok, but when you go to a video and you go to the insights, you're gonna see average watch time. So, for example, if you have a 10-second video and your average watch time is like 8 seconds, that's 80% retention. That's huge. That's really, really great. Typically, what I see is like anything 60% retention and higher is considered like very good. So if you have a 10-second video and people are watching 1 second or 2 seconds on average, we have to figure out what's happening. Why are people not watching the rest of this video? What is happening in those first 1 to 2 seconds that's making people go next, on to the next, scroll, keep scrolling? What is happening there? Especially like I think with longer form content. So if you have like a 60-second video or a 90-second video, it's very difficult to get someone to commit 60 or 90 seconds of their time to watch your video, which is very sad. It's only 60 to 90 seconds. But at the same time, like there's so many videos. We've got so many videos to watch. Why are we going to spend a whole minute or a minute and a half on your video? Right? Like seems like a stretch, right? Like, it might be more difficult than we actually think. It's just 60 seconds. Yeah, but there's so many videos on the internet. So, if it's this 60-second video, say, and we're getting 10 seconds of people watching, I would be scrolling in my video to, like, 8 to 12 seconds and asking myself, "What is happening in that area where people are scrolling?" So, actually use this data to your advantage, guys. Like we have this data available to us. We might just look at it and go, "Oh, cool, like 20% of the retention, you know, there was a 20% retention rate. Cool." And then we just keep scrolling. We don't actually sit down and say, "Okay, what does that mean? Why is that happening? What can we do to change it?" And I would really challenge you to do so. Honestly, I usually do this about once a month. So I typically do it at the end of the month while I'm getting ready to plan content for the following month. I'll go through and say what performed really well last month or even in the last 90 days. And that's what I'll try and replicate or do again, but in maybe like a different way or have a little twist to it. And you'll find that there are some things that month after month after month, they're always performing well. And those are things that I would consider, you know, like how can you make it into a series? How can you make this like your thing, something that's more long term? This, what I'm about to tell you, is what I personally think is the biggest challenge and the most common challenge that I see when I have creators who are like, "Oh, I had this reel go viral, but I didn't gain any followers from it." And that is when your video does not match the rest of your content. So there's maybe this like misaligned content. So, for example, I had a creator who she's moving across the country. She's a creator that's in Social Suite, and most of her content right now is about this big cross country move. However, she posted like this random video where she was just like totally unrelated to moving. She was in an electric car and she was trying to charge it. And she was like, "I just don't understand. Like, how do I charge this car?" And it went viral. Everyone was like popping off about the car. How do you not know how to charge the car? Here's how you charge the car. Da, da, da. And so she had, I mean, bazillions of views on this video. And she was like, "It's so weird. I didn't gain any followers, hardly any followers," right? She gained some, but like for millions of people seeing it, however many people, it was like a very, very low conversion rate. And so we in a group meeting said, "Why did this happen?" And most of the people were like, "Well, if I came and followed you for this electric car video, and then I came to your page and I saw like a bunch of packing videos and like, here's how I'm cleaning my apartment before I'm moving out of it, I am not interested necessarily because I came for electric car content, right? Like there's some sort of disconnect between the video that went viral and who that video is for and the actual content that you're more consistently posting. And I think this is one of the scary things or one of the challenging things about posting content that is very out of your niche. Is like that might be the thing that goes viral. And it is a challenge because maybe you gain followers who maybe aren't going to really pay close attention to your content because they followed you for one thing and now they're not really getting a lot of that. So we actually went through and for this particular creator as a group, we brainstormed a ton of different ideas on how she could relate the car content to her move. And so this would hopefully help more people who see that video come to her page, see a little bit more things that kind of tie into what that viral video was, and then, maybe get them to stay for the rest of it. But overall, I think in the best case scenario, you should have a video that someone sees and then they go to your page and they're going to see more related content. It's not like that video that they saw was completely out of left field because of course that would be very difficult for you to convert followers for. The last thing I want to talk about here is a potential weak spot with your call to action. I feel like I have very mixed feelings on this. Having some sort of kind of follow me or like, hey, follow reminder in your content as a call to action. Obviously, having a CTA, I think in many cases is like a good reminder for people to like, oh, like this is what this person shares. Cool, I should go follow them. But also sometimes I think it could potentially get people to scroll away from our page if they don't want to listen to like your whole intro of, hey, if you're new here, I'm Kristen and this is what I do. And they may be like, okay, I didn't come for your whole bio. I came to watch this video. I'm gonna keep scrolling. So I think that call to actions can be useful if you do them correctly. But the challenge is that I think what is and isn't correct is very different for every niche, every creator, but also for each video. So, should it be text that's on the screen that says, don't forget to follow? I don't know that that really works super well all the time. I'm trying to think about like a situation where I've ever followed someone because of that, and I honestly can't think of any. So I don't know if that is the most useful way of doing it. What I do think is a really short kind of explanation of who you are and what you do without being like, hey, follow me, follow me, follow me. Just being like, hey, let me introduce myself, I think is a really great way to do it. So I actually have a friend of mine. Her name's Katarina. She is like a creative strategist and creative director type person. So basically she creates like a lot of content where she'll kind of analyze a company's like marketing or creative direction that they've done. And so she'll start the video off with some like really great hook where I'm just like, whoa, I have to listen to this. I need to see what she's going to say. And then she will go into this like 5-second, hey, if you're new here, I'm Kate. I'm a creative strategist who analyzes da 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 da. Done. Like it's very short, sweet, to the point, and then immediately gets back into the video. So now I understand who she is and what she does. I'm also understanding her authority a little bit more. And if that's something that I'm interested in, I'm going to follow this person. But I also am not spending too much time listening to it where I like am annoyed that I can't just watch the rest of the video. So I actually just watched someone who did this really well and followed them in the last couple of days. It was a girl on TikTok who she basically would pull up someone's old branding, like someone's branding, and say, I'm a brand designer who basically like analyzes other people's logos and then revises them based on what I think should be changed. Period. Done. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. And I went to her page and she does that like a million times. She just keeps finding new logos and keeps, analyzing them and making new logos. And I'm obsessed with seeing how it's going to change from like the old logo to the new logo. And so when I was immediately told by her, this is what I do, I went, "Ooh, cool. I'm gonna go to her page and watch more of those." And then when I went to her page and saw that there were so many more, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to watch them all. I'm gonna follow so I can keep seeing these." So I think when you have that nice little intro that gets immediately to the point and doesn't give us your whole life story, I think it's very smart. And I think also putting this towards the beginning of your video is actually a very good strategy. Because what a lot of people do with call to actions is they'll save them for the end of the video. And the big issue with that is, I mean, if you go look at your retention rate, you're probably going to notice most people are not watching 100% of your videos, right? Like, we're just not. And so the issue is that most people aren't even seeing your call to action. So having it somewhere in the first 50%, I'd even say the first 25% of the video, I think is a much better strategy because we're going to more immediately understand the context, A, but also we're actually going to see that little intro or call to action where we can decide if we want to go follow versus at the end we may not see it, right? So these are some things to think about. I realize this is kind of like all very high level stuff. I think there is just kind of like an art to it versus a science, right? Like what I gave you today was a science. It's a lot of like here's a lot of actionable steps you can take. However, I still think there's just so much experimenting that we have to do as creators to be able to say, okay, this is what people really like from me. I'm going to just keep doing that. I'm going to replicate it and replicate it and replicate it. And this is actually one of the reasons why I think that series and things like that work so well because if people know what to expect, they're more likely to commit to staying. Right? Like with that brand designer example, I knew that 80%, 70% of what she posts was the content where she was going through and revising brands or logos. And so I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to get here. I would feel comfortable saying I want to stay here. Right? Like if we don't know what we're going to get, it's much harder for us to say, okay, I'm going to stay here. Another creator who did this really well. I wish I remembered her handle. I literally just saw it last night. I'm scrolling on TikTok and what she does is she finds guys on the street, like good looking guys, and she'll ask them where they hang out. She'll be like, "What bars do you go to? Like, what's your go to spot?" And then she'll have the next video where she's doing like a get ready with me and talking about going to that spot. And just kind of like dating and whatever. And then the third video in the series is her going to that spot and like kind of reviewing, like, all right, I spent the night here. Like, this is what we drank. This is who we talked to. This is how it went. And it's so you get to follow the story really well. Like, here's the guy telling her where to go. Second one is her getting ready to go there. Third one is her actually going there. And so we get to see this like repeatable series. And then like the next day, she'll post another one where she starts at the meeting the guy on the street, like this point A. So those series I think are so great because we really get a good understanding of why people are going to stay and if as a follower like I know exactly what I'm going to get. I actually think it's funny as I'm saying this like I give you guys advice and as I'm giving it I very often am like thinking to myself, "Huh, I haven't actually done a series like in a while." And I think back to when I actually was doing a series specifically on TikTok. I was going through and giving rates, like doing creator rate audits for people. And like every day I would just pick a new creator. I would go to their profile and be like, here's what I would charge if I was them. And I think that was the time where I was gaining the most followers because it was like a repeatable series. Like people could just watch and watch and watch and watch and binge and then they knew that I was going to post more of them, so they would follow. So that's something to think about. And actually, as I'm saying it again, I think I might actually think about that a little bit harder for the next month as well. Just me over here taking my own advice. So I hope that after listening to this, you at least have some things to go off of. Your wheels are turning. I can't wait to see if you're able to convert more of these Reels viewers into followers. If you need some feedback on your videos, don't be afraid to join us in Social Suite. Come to our content audit workshops. We do them multiple times a month and get feedback from other people because I know sometimes we're a little bit too close to our genius. So hopefully I see you guys in there. If not, I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.